Alright, hello, how are you getting on? This is the continuation of Stardew Valley on easy mode. If you haven't seen the first 100 days, you can watch that video if you want to, but I will be doing a quick recap of it anyway, so you don't necessarily have to watch it before you watch this video. It's entirely up to you. First things first, let me explain what easy mode is. In short, you start off with fully upgraded tools, both backpack upgrades and the tractor mod. Oh, and Elliot's pencil. I'll be honest, that last one is just a bit of a meme. Because these things make the game a lot easier, I set quite a few fairly difficult goals for the first 100 days. These goals were as follows. Complete the shipping collection, complete the fishing collection, complete the museum collection, build all 4 obelisks on the farm, build the gold clock on the farm, complete all of the monster eradication goals, reach maximum hearts with every villager, reach level 10 in every skill, find all star drops, fully upgrade the house, earn a total of 50 million gold, and finally use only Elliot's pencil as a weapon until we make it to the Skull Caverns. By the end of the first 100 days we managed to complete 6 of these goals, which is nice, but we also failed 6 of these goals, which is not so nice. So, our goals for the next 100 days are to complete the goals we failed the last time, and to achieve perfection. This mostly involves completing the first goal, but we also have to cook all of the recipes, craft all of the items in the game, reach maximum hearts with Kent, and collect what remains of the 130 golden walnuts on Ginger Island. Finally, I want to mention a couple of small things. Mr. QI is being referred to as Mr. Blue. In fact, the word QI has been replaced with the word blue in general. For example, instead of Mr. QI's walnut room, it is now Mr. Blue's walnut room. We got married to Leah. Clint pretty much ruined our chances of getting the gold clock on day 100, so he's sort of our enemy now. But I am a very forgiving person, so that will probably change pretty soon. The 4 obelisks are referred to as magical towers. And finally, King William is pretty much our best friend. Anyway, enough lollygagging. Let's get started with the rest of winter. I start day 101 by taking a moment to gather my surroundings. At this point it has been around a week since I played this game, so I need to get back into the scallywag mindset. Our day officially begins with some good news as Pierre has sent us the mini shipping bin in the mail. This is very good. I end up putting it in my bedroom, so if we need to sell something at the very last minute, we can do it pretty easily now. Next, I take some time to say hello to all of my animals. The barn is still a bit cluttered with kegs and cheese presses, and my animals deserve better than that, so I pick them all up. I head into the shed with my kegs and preserves jars and start clearing it out. Then, I fill that shed up entirely with kegs. Next, I remove the oil makers, looms and mayonnaise machines from another shed. I replace them with more preserves jars, but unfortunately we do not have enough to fill up the entire shed. I harvest some sweet gem berries from my greenhouse, as well as the winter forage that has grown, and I collect the squid ink and roe from my ponds. I place the sweet gem berries in the seed maker, then I head to the night market. This little mini festival is my second favourite event in the entire game. Of course, the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies is my all-time favourite festival. There is just something about the beach at nighttime that really warms my heart. I watch the mermaid show, then complete the puzzle to receive a pearl. On day 102, Lewis lets us know about the Feast of the Winter Star Festival. He also lets us know that the person we have to give a gift to is Emily. I am okay with that. I still have a ton of gems, so I can just give her an amethyst or something. I head to the desert where I am too early to enter Sandy's shop. I do a bit of dilly-dallying to pass the time, then I finally enter her shop and buy 2 full stacks of starfruit seeds. As well as this, I buy 2 full stacks of deluxe speed grow. I pay a visit to King William, who also kindly brings me to Ginger Island where I plant all of the starfruit seeds I bought. I head into Mr. Blue's walnut room where I buy the heavy tapper and deluxe fertilizer recipes. I also talk to Leo and give him a duck feather to get a start on improving my friendship with him. There are still 2 recipes I need to buy from the island trader. We need cinder shards and bone fragments for these 2 recipes. I was fairly certain I already had enough of both of these items to pay for these recipes, but just to be sure I did some digging at the dig site to get more bones. I also did some fishing here to get the fossilized spine for the field office donation thingy. I donate this and the ribs to the office, then I spend the rest of the day in the Volcano dungeon collecting cinder shards and working towards the magma sprite eradication goal. Day 103 of course begins with the watering of all of our starfruit seeds on Ginger Island. Following that, I head to the island trader and buy the 2 recipes I mentioned yesterday and give Leo another gift. For the purpose of saving time, I won't talk about me watering my starfruit seeds or giving gifts to Leo anymore. I use a warp totem to get back to my farm and collect some eggs in my coop for a special order from Gustavo. At this point I've collected enough eggs for the quest, but I won't have enough to put into his fridge. I harvest the ancient fruit in my greenhouse, plop them into my seed maker and buy a single egg from the travelling cart. I head to the saloon to drop off the eggs when I realise that we have just hit the jackpot. Gustavo is not in the saloon, which means he is on Ginger Island, which means we can buy a recipe from him. I make a beeline for King William's shop and head to Ginger Island where I immediately buy the tropical curry recipe. This is fantastic. There have been times in the past where I spent months in game waiting for Gustavo to go to Ginger Island so I can buy that recipe, so this was really lucky. Back in Pelican Town, I head to Clint's shop to buy coal so I can make more preserves jars, but his shop is closed. Day 104 begins with a letter from Abigail. She wants to show us something. Yeah, we're going to ignore this one. I am not ready for the emotional damage it will cause me. I collect the last 2 eggs I need for Gustavo's special order for my coop, then I head to the secret woods and meet a bear. Also, there are a lot of things we have to do today, so I need you to bear with me. I head to Clint's and buy a full stack of coal which I use to make 27 preserves jars. This is not enough. I buy a couple stacks of wood from Robin and make another 40 preserves jars, giving us a total of 67. I also decide to get the community upgrade. Basically, we are paying Robin to build a house for Penny and Pamela. I head into the saloon to drop off the final 2 eggs, completing the special order. I know I said I wouldn't talk about Leo anymore, but he was feeling sad today, which broke my heart. Poor kid. The rest of the day is spent defeating magma sprites in the Volcano dungeon. I take a quick break during this and head to the Pirate Cove to play darts. If we get a score of 301 3 times, then we get 3 golden walnuts. After completing this, I head right back to the Volcano dungeon for the rest of the day. Day 105 again begins with some good news. After warping back to Pelican Town, I receive a mini fridge from Gustavo for completing his special order. I head into my preserves jar shed and fill it up with the preserves jars I made yesterday. Then I throw my remaining machines into the empty shed. In the desert, I finally buy the desert warp totem recipe for 10 iridium bars. I then decide to buy everything the travelling cart is selling, even though I don't really need any of it. The rest of the day is spent putting all of the items we need to craft everything into chests in my cellar. On day 106, we can either choose to defeat 50 grubs for Clint, or we can collect ectoplasm for the wizard. I decide to go with the ectoplasm to get it out of the way. Next up is a visit to Clinty Poo. I need a lot of coal for the items I'll be crafting in the future, so I buy a full stack of it. I spent some time on Ginger Island breaking muscle nodes for golden walnuts. We've only gotten 2 of the 5 walnuts from these, so I need to start breaking these every single day. Mr. Blue wants us to collect 100 each of red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple items. Now, normally this can be a difficult enough quest, but we have disposable income. But first, I need to collect the fossilized tail for the field office. You can get the fossilized tail by panning at the dig site. You see that little shimmer in the water that my mouse is on? Yeah, that's the only place we can do some panning. Unfortunately, we cannot reach it, so we'll have to come back some other time. And now it is time to do Mr. Blue's quest. First we head to Clint's. Okay, I guess not. First we head to okay, no, never mind. First we head to the saloon and buy 100 salads, 100 spaghettis and 100 Georgia Colas. This gives us the green, red and blue items we need. I'll get the rest of the items I need tomorrow. For now we head to the mines to try to get the ectoplasm for the wizard. I went all the way through floors 50 to 80 and didn't get it, so I had to go back up to the top, then go back down to level 50. I passed out at 2 AM. I did not receive the ectoplasm. On day 107, I start by collecting 100 bug meat and 100 sap from my chest. This covers the yellow and purple items we need for Mr. Blue's quest. Next, I watch Robin present Penny and Pamela's new house to them. I'm recording this a couple of days after Christmas, so this cutscene rejuvenated my Christmas spirit. It made me feel jolly. It filled me with a festive feeling. I head to Clint's and buy 100 copper ore for the orange item requirement. I still have not forgotten what you did to me on day 100, Clint. You're on thin ice. You're on very thin ice. On Ginger Island, Leo is very upset. I won't say why because I don't want to spoil his backstory before we get to the cutscene where he actually talks about it. But can you guess who showed up to support Leo? That's right. The man, the myth, the used car salesman, King William. He is truly an angel amongst humans. I head to Mr. Blue's room and drop off the items he requested. I use the blue gems I received for this to purchase the deluxe fertilizer recipe, then I finally meet Birdie for the first time. She gives us a quest to do, but we can't complete it until Kent arrives in Pelican Town at the start of the next year. I head to the dig site and I do some panning to collect the fossilized tail, then I donate it to the field office, fully completing the little collection there. For this, I received the recipe for the ostrich incubator as well as 6 golden walnuts and a banana tree sapling. Next up is one of the most important things we have to do this month. I head into the sewers and change my foraging profession. The perk I picked at level 10 caused small yellow arrows that show the location of forage items to pop up on the screen. It was really starting to have a negative effect on my vibes, so I got rid of that perk. I head to the mines where I managed to collect the ectoplasm I need and I give it to the wizard to complete a special order. Also, when it comes to the foraging thing, I decided to pick the perk that makes sure all of the forage items we collect are iridium quality. Some more good news on day 108, the wizard has sent us the recipe for the mini obelisk. I mean the mini magical tower. Sorry, I forgot I changed obelisk to mini, it's not important. I collect my rare seeds and ancient seeds from my seed maker, harvest 2 sweet gem berries and plant my seeds in my greenhouse. I head to Marnie's and buy a full stack of hay, an auto grabber and a heater. At this point I want to make the ostrich incubator so I can hatch my ostrich egg and get an ostrich in my barn. The problem is, my barn is full, which means we need to sell one of our animals. But I can't do that. I refuse to sell any of them because they're part of my family now. Instead, I head to Robin's and buy some wood and stone, then ask her to build a brand new barn on my farm. I spend the rest of the day in the Volcano dungeon where I finally complete the Magma Sprite goal, fully completing all of the monster eradication goals. The Feast of the Winter Star Festival takes place on day 109. I decide to use my golden walnuts to buy the warp tower so I can easily get back to my farm. My farm isn't looking great at the minute, almost all of the fences are ruined. I will have to fix that at some point. At the festival, I spend some time talking to the villagers before giving Emily an amethyst. Lewis then comes up to me. It turns out he is my secret Santa. He gives me a glow ring, which is pretty nice in my opinion. I decide to spend some more time talking to the villagers at the festival. Like I said, I recorded this part a few days after Christmas, so this was pretty good timing. On day 110, I harvest the ancient fruit that has grown in my greenhouse and put them into my seed maker. Then it's off to the travelling cart to once again buy everything that is on sale. This might seem like a waste of money, but it is the season of giving after all. I spend the rest of the day buying the coins in the casino so I can buy a ton of hardwood fences. Day 111 begins with some good news and some bad news. I woke up to 20 ancient seeds. I also woke up to 2 mixed seeds. I do not need mixed seeds. I take my ancient fruit seeds to the greenhouse and plant them. Our greenhouse is around 50% filled with ancient seeds now, which is nice. Unfortunately, I do have some more bad news. Our starfruit on Ginger Island is not ready yet, which means that at some point between day 100 and now, I forgot to water them. The good news is they should be ready for harvest tomorrow. I spent some time fishing to collect 2 more golden walnuts, then I asked the parrot in Leo's treehouse for a hint. 2 more golden walnuts are encased in Fire Mountain gadgets, so it's off to the Volcano dungeon. I managed to collect one of them without much hassle, but I was not able to get the other one. Day 112 is the final day of winter. I begin by harvesting all of my starfruit that has grown, then I plant more starfruit seeds and water them. Before I throw them into kegs, I head to the Wizard's Tower and build 2 Junimo huts on my farm. I throw around 500 starfruit into the chest beside my kegs, which guarantees us 3 rounds of starfruit wine. I then throw the remaining starfruit into preserves jars. Also, my new barn has been built, so I place a heater and the incubator inside it and throw an ostrich egg into the incubator. Next, I head to Robin's to finally upgrade the shed with my crystallariums. I wanted to go to Ginger Island, but King William's shop is closed, so with a heavy heart, I sacrifice a dragon tooth to make an island warp totem. The good news is, I find a replacement dragon tooth a few minutes later. My luck has reached new heights as I also find the second golden walnut before the day ends. Also, the Volcano dungeon music is a certified classic. Just listen to it. I head back to Pelican Town, and for the final time, I dig up a ton of winter forage. And with that, our first year in Pelican Town has come to an end. Day 113 is the first day of spring and the first day of our second year. Our morning begins with an interesting conversation with Leah. That was some way to ring in the new year last night.
What do you mean by that?
Kent has finally arrived in Pelican Town. Now that he's here, we can finally get started on fully completing the friendship goal. Also, Leah wants us to meet her in the forest tomorrow so she can teach us how to paint. This is a terrible idea. I have the painting skills of somebody who has very poor painting skills. Our farm is looking very cluttered right now because of all of the new wood and stone and weeds that have appeared. I spent a bit of time clearing some of it out, then I had the Piers to buy 50 of each spring seed and a full stack of cauliflower seeds. I also buy a full stack of Deluxe Speed Grow. At the special orders board we can either do a quest for Demetrius or a quest for King William. I of course choose King William. He wants us to catch 5 lionfish, 5 stingrays and 5 blue discus. I head into Jodie's house and get the ball rolling on our friendship with Kent. I also start Birdie's quest. I take the gourmet tomato salt to Gustavo and in return he gives me a Stardew Valley rose. I really want to keep this rose. Like I really want to keep it. But we do have to give it away in order to do this quest, so with a heavy heart I give it to Sandy in exchange for an advanced TV remote. The recipient of this wonderful piece of technology is George, who gives me an Arctic shard. I then give that to the wizard, who gives me a wriggly worm. Okay, forget about the rose, I really want to keep this worm, but I can't, I shan't, and I won't. I give the worm to King William. If I had to give it away, at least it's going to him. He gives me the final item I need for the quest, which means I need to go to Ginger Island. King William's shop is closed, so I make an island warp totem and head towards Birdie. Unfortunately, we got there too late. In Mr. Blue's room, I once again accept the quest to find 100 each of different coloured items. On the morning of day 114, I give Birdie the locket she was looking for. She rewards us with 5 golden walnuts and the recipe for fairy dust. Fairy dust is huge. If you use it on things like kegs, casks and furnaces, then whatever is inside the machine will be automatically completed. For example, if we put a starfruit into a keg and used fairy dust on it, we would instantly receive starfruit wine. Then we put that starfruit wine into a cask and use fairy dust on it to instantly upgrade it to silver quality. Then use fairy dust again to get it to gold quality and then finally to iridium quality. We need diamonds and fairy roses to make fairy dust, which means that if we can plant a ton of fairy roses, then we'll be in a really good spot. Back on my farm, I start putting hardwood fences down. I take a quick break and head to the saloon to get started on collecting the 100 items we need for Mr. Blue's quest. I still have copper ore in my smelting shed as well as sap in my storage shed. I only have 78 bug meat though, so we have to go to the mines to collect the rest of it, which thankfully doesn't take too long. Before the day ends, I manage to clean up the area with my Junimo huts. I start day 115 by planting my spring crops, making sure to use Deluxe Speed Grow on them. My plan is to fill this entire area with strawberries later in the month. Not so we can make money off them, but because I like strawberries. They look pretty. In the forest, Leah teaches me how to paint. I tell Leah she should take a colourful retro pop art approach to her painting. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. Leah then asks me how my painting is coming along. I have the utmost faith in my farmer to produce the single greatest painting that anybody has ever seen. So I tell her it's a masterpiece of fine art. A short while later, Leah reveals her painting. It looks exquisite. Then I reveal my painting. Let's just move on. I head to King William's shop. I'm getting really tired of saying King William. And buy some bait and a few spinners for the fishing we'll be doing on Ginger Island. I spent some time catching lionfish, but at the same time we're also catching tuna and flounder, which we don't need at all right now. I decide to give Mr. Blue the items he requested and buy the hopper recipe. Now we just need 19 more gems for the last recipe he sells. As I left Mr. Blue's room, I realized I had 10 golden walnuts. I immediately turn around, walk right back into his room, exchange the golden walnuts for gems, and buy the magic bait recipe. I spend the rest of the day catching blue discus. Day 116 begins in the worst way possible. The stingray I was trying to catch caught me off guard and made me feel embarrassed by how easily it got away. Instead of pushing forward despite this minor setback, I run away and head back to Pelican Town to give Kenny a present. I also had some wild bait in my fishing chest, which is perfect. When you use wild bait, you have a chance to receive 2 of the fish you catch. I spent some more time decorating my farm, and by some more time, I mean I spent the rest of the day putting hardwood fences down and planting crops. On day 117, I decided it was time to display my painting in my house. I then felt incredibly uncomfortable looking at the painting, so I took it back down. I head to Ginger Island, where I spend most of the day trying to catch lionfish at the docks, then I spend the rest of the day catching stingrays. King William sends us a deluxe fish tank on day 118 for completing his special order. If we did Demetrius's quest, we would have gotten the recipe for the computer. This was a bittersweet moment as I really wanted that recipe, but at the same time, we have to look out for our king. The Junimos are working away on our farm, which makes me really happy. I wish you could give them a starfruit or something as a way of saying, "Come here to me, you're doing a great job. Thank you." I harvest some ancient fruit in my greenhouse, and at this point I think the next time I'll mention my ancient fruit is when I have completely filled up my greenhouse with them. I head to Robin's and ask her to build a few shortcuts in the town. If you haven't seen these shortcuts before, I'll make sure to explain them at some point during this month. After buying a few stacks of wood, I head to the cinema and buy 2 tickets. I give the ticket to Kenny so that I can make some more progress on his friendship. I spend the rest of the day putting the items we need for the various cooking recipes into my fridge and mini fridge. It's raining on day 119, which means the Junimos won't harvest any of the crops. I was tempted to harvest the crops myself, but I decided to leave them alone. Maybe the Junimos really enjoy harvesting crops, and I don't want to take that away from them. Our first batch of starfruit wine is ready, so I make 99 casks and fill my cellar with them. Iridium quality starfruit wine sells for 6,300 gold if you pick the artisan perk at farming level 10, so this is going to be our money maker. I head to Ginger Island and plant some summer seeds. The reason for this is I sold pretty much all of our summer crops on day 100 when I was trying to make enough money to buy the gold clock. So now we need to grow all of those crops again for cooking recipes. I honestly cannot remember the last time I got a golden walnut out of one of these mussel nodes. The parrot in Leo's house lets us know that there is still 1 golden walnut left inside of these mussel nodes, so we need to keep breaking them. Next, we have a cutscene where Jody is cooking popcorn. The sound of the popcorn cooking reminds Kent of what he went through while he was in the army, and he gets angry with Jody. But when we tell him he shouldn't blame Jody, he apologizes to her. After the cutscene, he also apologizes to us. I would marry him if I could. The Junimos are back to their shenanigans on day 120 as they harvest the crops and flowers that have grown. We also have a new special order to do. Caroline wants us to harvest and ship 100 taro roots. I only have 7 tubers in a chest on the Pelican Town farm, but I also have 61 bones. I take these bones to Ginger Island and trade them for 30 taro tubers. I have another 43 taro I have another 43 taro tubers, that is very difficult to say, in the chest of my island farm, giving us a total of 80 taro tubers. When I dug up this artifact spot, I got a golden coconut. For some reason I thought it was a golden walnut, and I was tremendously confused but also incredibly happy. Then I realized it wasn't a golden walnut, and I was very disappointed. In Mr. Blue's walnut room, I accept a quest to ship 100,000 gold worth of freshly cooked items. On day 121, I harvest all of the starfruit that has grown, then put some iridium sprinklers down. I don't have enough to cover the entire farm, but at least 300 or so of our crops will be watered automatically every day. I plant some more starfruit seeds and my taro tubers while also using deluxe speed grow. Back on the original farm, okay. The farm in Pelican Town is farm 1. The Ginger Island farm is farm 2. I don't know if I'll stick with that, but let's just see what happens. Back on farm 1, I put my starfruit into preserves jars and kegs before taking some crops out of the Junimo huts and putting 2 of them into my fridge. Yeah, our 2 fridges are full, so we need to get another mini fridge. Robin sells them, but it's Tuesday, so she won't be in her shop today. I head to the saloon and buy 669 coffees from Gustavo. Then I head to Ginger Island and make 223 triple shot espressos and place them into my shipping bin. I spend the rest of the day in the mines collecting bones so I can trade them for more taro tubers. Also, those triple shot espressos sold for 100,000 gold, which means we completed the quest to ship 100,000 gold worth of freshly cooked items. On the morning of day 122, our ostrich has finally arrived. I wanted to call it Bamboozlement, but the name was too long, so I ended up calling it Hen Boward instead. I spent some time decorating my animal area, but then I realized I'm not entirely happy with how it looks. I head to Robin's and move some of the buildings around, then I ask her to upgrade my barn. Next up on the agenda is to head to Ginger Island and trade bones for the last few taro tubers we need. Also, our banana tree has finally produced a banana. This is absolutely marvelous. I plant my new taro tubers and then it finally happens. I break a mussel node and get a golden walnut. I was so excited that I didn't know which emoji to use, so in the end I didn't use any emojis. But rest assured, I am absolutely ecstatic right now. I do have some unfortunate news though. Howdy, Dowdy and Gabriel must be taken off the farm while I do some more decorating. This absolutely broke my heart, but I will find a new spot for them. The rest of the day is spent putting some finishing touches on my animal area. Day 123 is the single most important day so far. Howdy, Dowdy and Gabriel have been placed inside the souvenir room so that they will live forever. I am incredibly grateful for all of the hard work they put in. Next up is our weekly cinema date with Kenny, but before we watch the movie there is something I must do. I played a crane game because I really want those little Junimo plushies. But I don't just want a single Junimo plushie, no. In fact, I don't even want one of each different coloured Junimo plushie. I want 2 of each coloured Junimo plushie. Fueled by the desire to make my home look pretty, I managed to do this. But that is not all. I also got the Brave Little Sapling movie poster. After I finish up playing the crane game, my happiness reaches new heights as I realize that I still have the movie with Kenny to look forward to. After the movie, I return home to proudly display all of my Junimo plushies as well as the movie poster. Today was the most exquisite of days. On day 124, I head to Robin's to buy wood, stone and 2 mini fridges. I also ask her to upgrade my barn for the final time. As in the actual final time. I'm pretty sure I said that before, but this is the actual legitimate final time I'll be upgrading any barn or pretty much any building on my farm. I promise. Farm 2 is looking, it's looking alright. After a few more rounds of planting and harvesting starfruit, I'll start working on decorating this farm too. I head into the jungle and place a banana on an altar and receive the final 3 golden walnuts. I felt genuinely relieved when I realized we collected all 130 golden walnuts. Back on farm 1, I fill up one of my new mini fridges with some more crops. At this point, all we need to do to unlock the cooking recipes we need is to watch the Queen of Sauce show every Sunday and get Kent and Leo's friendship up. So we are in a really good spot right now. How many times have I said that actually? We're in a really good spot right now. I've lost count. I head to Sandy's shop and buy 25 rhubarb seeds. I plant all but one of these seeds on my farm. At the end of the day, Leah wants to have a baby. I need to think of a really good name for that baby. Day 125 is the annual egg festival. Before the festival starts, I harvest some cauliflower that has grown and take the fresh starfruit wine and jelly and put them into the chest beside my casks. Then it's off to the egg festival. I spend some time talking to all of the villagers before starting the egg hunt. As soon as the egg hunt began, I continue talking to all of the villagers. Abigail can win this one. She deserves it. I'm just happy to be here, to be honest. Before the day ends, I remove my green beans. I won't be planting my strawberry seeds tonight because I left all of my deluxe speed grow in a chest on Ginger Island. Speaking of Ginger Island, on day 126 I harvest some crops on farm 2, collect my deluxe speed grow and return to farm 1. I'll be honest, this whole farm 1, farm 2 thing is starting to make me feel lackadaisical. I plant around 400 strawberry seeds and I'm pretty sure this has earned us the right to call ourselves a strawberry farmer. I really like strawberries, so I'm feeling really good right now. But we'll probably become like an ancient fruit farmer in the future, so I'm gonna treasure this while I can. I didn't do much for the rest of the day, but remember those shortcuts I asked Robin to build? I will show them to you now. The first shortcut connects Leah's house to the beach. The second shortcut connects the tide pool area on the beach to the museum. The third shortcut connects the area just north of Georgia Mart to the quarry. The fourth shortcut is a little bridge that connects the Adventurers Guild to the island in the center of the mountain lake. The fifth shortcut connects the mountain lake area to the area just north of Georgia Mart. This one is very similar to the third shortcut, it's just on the left side instead of the right side. The final shortcut connects the little forest behind our farm to the tunnel area. These shortcuts cost 300,000 gold, which is a lot of gold, but they are pretty cool in my opinion. Some more starfruit jelly is ready on day 127. My excitement grows exponentially as I look at the starfruit wine and jelly we have in our chest. We are going to make more bread than a bakery when we sell all of this. At the special orders board, Demetrius wants us to catch 10 sardines. Completing his quest will give us a new crafting recipe, so this is great news for us. On Ginger Island, our mango tree has finally produced a mango. I also harvest the first batch of taro roots for Caroline's quest. Our next stop is Mr. Blue's room, where we accept the quest to ship 100,000 gold worth of cooked items. Again, you may have noticed that I haven't picked any Skull Cavern quests since the start of day 101. I also haven't gone to the Skull Cavern in general since that day. That's because I feel like we spent too much time in there during the first 100 days, so I'm staying away from there for the rest of this playthrough. Once again, we buy 669 coffees from Gustavo. Before I go back to Ginger Island, I do some fishing to get started on the special order Demetrius gave us. To end the day, I make some triple shot espressos and throw them into my shipping bin to complete Mr. Blue's quest. We are having exquisite luck this month. The rest of our taro roots are ready for harvest on the morning of day 128. I plop all of them into the shipping bin to complete Caroline's special order and use my gems to buy Pierre's missing stock list. This is an absolute game changer. I give Pierre's missing stock list to Pierre, of course. This means we can now buy each season's seeds at any time. I buy 25 of each summer and fall crop because I'm still missing the summer and fall crops that are needed for some cooking recipes. I also buy a full stack of fairy rose seeds and a full stack of deluxe speed grow. We spent around 500,000 gold during this little shopping spree, but it will be worth it when we start making fairy dust. I am not very fond of dilly-dallying, which is why I am sad to announce that we will not be planting these seeds today. That is because we spent the rest of the day fishing to complete the special order Demetrius gave us. All of our hard work was worth it, as Demetrius sends us the recipe for the computer and Caroline sends us the recipe for the solar panel on day 129. At this point, the last 3 crafting recipes we need are given to us by the Wizard, Clint and King William after we complete a special order for them. I collect an ostrich egg from the auto grabber in my barn, as well as a banana and a mango from a chest, and throw them into my shipping bin. And with that, we have fully completed the shipping collection. I make a quick trip to Ginger Island to put all of my seeds into a chest, then I return to Pelican Town for my third movie date with Kenny. While we were in the cinema, I realised that this is the third time we've watched The Little Sapling. Look, times are tough in Pelican Town right now. We can only afford to play one movie every season. In fact, the entire cinema is being managed by a Junimo and they spend the whole day jumping around in the popcorn. On day 130, we get a little notification letting us know that we have completed the shipping collection. That was a lovely way to start the day. Kenny sends us a cooking recipe to thank us for making him feel welcome. You're a good man, Kenny. I collect some starfruit jelly from my shed and harvest the last of our sweet gem berries, then it's off to Ginger Island to harvest all of the starfruit that is grown. We now have a ton of space on farm 2, so I plant all of the seeds I bought. Well, almost all of them. I didn't have enough space to plant all of the fairy rose seeds, but I did manage to plant around 350 of them. I head back to farm 1 and throw the starfruit I harvested into my kegs and preserves jars, and yeah, that's it for today. Day 131 was a very lazy day. I watered my crops on Ginger Island, and that was about it. On day 132, I take a moment to appreciate the aesthetic beauty of the strawberries that have grown. Then I collect the fruit that has been building up in our bat cave. Also, today is the day we finally filled up our greenhouse with ancient seeds. I am very happy about that. On day 133, some of our wheat, eggplants and bok choys have grown. After I harvest them, I take away the eggplant seeds because we need all the space we can get for our fairy rose seeds. I collect another batch of starfruit wine and jelly from my sheds and harvest the rhubarb that has grown. I was a bit lackadaisical when it came to planting the rhubarb seeds, so some of them have not grown yet. King William has a special order for us on day 134. We need to collect 100 bug meat. But before we get started on that, I harvest some crops on farm 2 and accept a quest to give 50 loved gifts in 1 week. I did not know this when I accepted the quest, but this was the beginning of a 4-day struggle during which I consistently felt the dopamine leaving my body. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is my least favourite quest in the entire game. I will admit, however, that my hatred for this quest was formed entirely due to my own actions. I was under the impression that I would not need to consult the Stardew Valley wiki after getting every villager except for Kenny and Leo to full hearts. So it should come as no surprise that I was completely heartbroken when I had to reopen the 20 tabs I had closed containing information about the items that every villager loves. And once again, who was there for me during my darkest hour? King William, of course. I watch a beautiful cutscene in which my king and Linus invite Leo to live in Pelican Town. I know I've made a lot of jokes during this video, but this is actually a really sweet cutscene. Leo was separated from his parents when a big wave crashed into the boat they were on. Leo ended up on Ginger Island all by himself, and the only family he's had since then is the birds on the island. So it was really nice seeing Linus and Willie do their best to look out for him and give him a chance at a new life. Anyway, let's get back to the actual video. I went to the mines to collect bug meat when I realized I never collected the burglar ring from the Adventurers Guild. While we're wearing this ring, any monster we defeat has a chance to drop twice as many items. Now that we have collected this ring, we could buy another one for 20,000 gold, but wearing 2 burglar rings doesn't result in monsters dropping 4 times as many items. So there isn't really any point in doing this. But having 1 ring does make it easier for us to get a lot of bug meat. Also, the birds from Ginger Island built a little house for Leo during the night. Day 135 is dedicated entirely to giving gifts to the villagers and collecting the rest of the bug meat we need for the special order. The flower festival takes place on day 136. I really wanted to ask Elliot to dance with me, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to Leah. Instead, I decided to ask Maru to dance with me. Okay, no, I didn't. I would have felt terrible if I did that to Leah. I can't believe I'm being loyal to a video game character, but much like the sculpture she has made, Leah is a work of art. After the flower dance, I quickly run to King William's shop and drop off the 100 bug meat, completing his special order. Up next, we are off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of Pelican Town. I finally built the island magical tower on my farm. I then immediately regret where I put the tower, so I move it to a different spot. I can't explain why, but it just looks nicer like this. I give George a leek, which ends up being the 50th and final gift I had to give out for Mr. Blue's quest. I head to the beach where King William gives us the recipe for the quality bobber. Now all we need is the crafting recipe for the geode crusher from Clint and the recipe for monster musk from the wizard. And now it is time for the final cinema date with Kenny for spring. This is a bittersweet moment. This segment was a nice little break from the hustle and bustle of trying to complete our goals. But it is also the last time we will get to watch the cinematic classic known as The Brave Little Sapling. On behalf of everybody watching this video, I would like to thank the whimsical little sapling for keeping us entertained during this month. While I was harvesting my crops on Ginger Island, I decided that I would do something to honour the brave little sapling at some point during the season of summer. I also realised that I definitely refer to spring, summer, fall and or winter as a month at some point during the first 100 days. Spring, summer, fall and winter are not months. They are seasons. I apologise for this mistake. Day 138 is a pretty boring day for the most part. All I did was collect some starfruit wine and water my crops on Ginger Island. However, because we were approaching the end of our second spring, I decided it was only right to commemorate our first spring. Because our very first day involved using a chair to get into the mines, I decided to place a chair outside my house and spend some time watching the rain fall on our farm. I ended up sitting here for the entire day because I went to get a bottle of water and forgot to pause the game, but that is okay. As Bob Ross once said, we don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. In completely unrelated news, that night Leah gave birth to a baby girl. I spent a full minute trying to think of a new name for her. In the end, I decided to call her Clementine. On day 139, I collect all of my diamonds from my crystallarium shed. I also collect all of my artisan goods before heading to Ginger Island. After harvesting all of the fairy roses, I used them and my diamonds to make 349 fairy dust. I return home, place all of my fairy dust into the chest beside my casks, and nothing happens. The automate mod is not using the fairy dust. I spend around 5 minutes manually putting the fairy dust on each cask, collecting the iridium wine it produces and breaking each cask one by one. This might sound like an inconvenience, but it was actually incredibly satisfying. I still have some fairy dust left over after removing every cask, so I put a few of them back down, put a chest beside them, and used the remaining fairy dust. I messed up a few times, which resulted in less iridium quality wine, but overall I am very happy with how it has turned out. I throw my wine, jelly, and other artisan goods into my shipping bin and receive just under 5 million gold for these items. Day 140 is the final day of spring. I woke up to see that we were 150,000 gold short of being able to afford the gold clock. My mind immediately thought of day 100 and the kerfuffle that occurred on that day when we tried to get enough money to buy the gold clock. I cannot allow that to happen again, and it will not happen again, because I did something that nobody saw coming. I planned ahead. You see, while I was planting the fairy rose seeds, I realized that not all of them would be ready to harvest on the 27th of spring. Based on this, I estimated that we would end up with between 320 and 350 fairy dust. I then calculated the amount of iridium wine this would allow us to make, while also taking into account that it was very likely we would accidentally waste some of the fairy dust. I took my estimated sell price for the wine and added it to my estimated sell price of all of our other artisan goods. The result of this showed me that I would be between 150,000 and 180,000 gold short of being able to afford the gold clock. But I was ready for this. You see, we had 234 diamonds left after we made our fairy dust. How much gold would Clint give us for these diamonds? 170,000 gold, resulting in a grand total of 10 million gold. We did it. We finally did it. We have built the gold clock on our farm. The most beautiful thing about all of this was that Clint, the man who stopped us from achieving this goal on day 100, was also the man who helped us to achieve this goal 40 days later. I harvest my strawberries, at which point I noticed the owl statue beside them. I do not know when that owl statue was put on our farm, but it will make a fine addition to my souvenir room. As the day came to an end, I felt it was only appropriate that I express my love for the 6 most important things in my life before heading to sleep. Leah, Clementine, Shenanigans, Howdy, Dowdy, and Gabriel all have my unending love and gratitude. Day 141. Our greenhouse is completely full of ancient fruit, so it's time to expand our ancient seed territory. We have a total of 206 ancient seeds, so we'll put them to use later on. In Mr. Blue's room, I accept the quest to ship 100,000 gold worth of freshly cooked items. At this point, I am seriously considering not doing these quests anymore. I also bought the key to the town for 20 gems. I head back to my farm and plant my ancient seeds along with some deluxe speed grow. At this point, you can just assume I'll be using deluxe speed grow anytime I plant crops. We have a chance at redemption as the wizard wants us to bring in prismatic jelly once again. We failed this quest last time we accepted it, so that cannot happen again. I make a quick trip to the desert to buy starfruit seeds, but I can only buy 66 of them because I forgot one important detail. We are broke. I plant these starfruit seeds, then head to the mines to see if a prismatic slime will show up. I spent at least 7 minutes going down to level 5 looking for a prismatic slime, going back up to the top floor, then going back to level 5. The prismatic slime did not appear. This was a disappointing end to a good day. On day 142, I collect some strawberries from my Junimo hut and some starfruit from my keg shed. I sell these to Pierre, then it's off to the mines once again. I spent so much time in here that I had to consult the Stardew Valley wiki to see if I was doing something wrong. The wiki told me that there is a 1.2% chance for any slime in the mines to be a prismatic slime. The chance for a prismatic slime to appear is also affected by our daily luck. I could go and get some food that will increase our luck to maybe make this a bit easier, but I want to experience the highest form of pride and accomplishment, so I will not be doing that. I leave the mines empty-handed, but rest assured, I will be back. I head to the saloon and buy 530-ish coffees. This is not enough to make the 223 triple shot espressos we need for Mr. Blue's quest. I head back to the mines and spend the rest of the night in there. Once again, I emerged from the mines empty-handed. Actually, I didn't emerge from the mines, I passed out in there at 2 AM, but you get the point. On day 143, I take the rest of my strawberries and some blue jazz flowers out of a Junimo hut and sell them to Pierre. Then it's off to the mines. At this point, I must have seen around 200 slimes, so I cannot express just how miserable I am right now. I almost gave up, but the thought of receiving a crafting recipe from the wizard kept me going. And then, it happened. At 6 PM, I made my way back to level 5. And out of the corner of my eye I saw the most beautiful, radiant, mesmerizing thing I have ever seen in my entire life. I saw the prismatic slime. I defeated and received 2 prismatic jellies because I was wearing the burglar ring. I head to the saloon and buy some more coffee, then I use the teleportation circle thingy in the witch's hut to get to the wizard tower. I give the prismatic jelly to the wizard, then return home to make triple shot espressos, which I throw into my shipping bin, completing Mr. Blue's quest. Day 144 starts in a delightful way. Leo sends us a cooking recipe and the wizard sends us a crafting recipe. Also, George sends us some stone. Thank you, George. I take some more ancient seeds and plant them on my farm, then it is time for our first summer cinema date with Kenny. I may have reached full hearts with him, but I'm not ending our cinema shenanigans just because of that. I want to commemorate this special occasion, so I played a crane game to get the Journey of the Prairie King movie poster. Myself and Kenny then have a jolly good time in the theatre as we watch the Prairie King movie. On the morning of day 145, I harvest some more fairy roses on Ginger Island. We're not going to be making fairy dust anymore, or at least for a while, so I'm basically waiting for the remaining fairy roses to grow so I can start decorating my Ginger Island farm. I return home and decide to start making all of the craftable items I can make right now, which is all of them except the geode crusher because I don't have the recipe for that yet. Just when I thought I had crafted everything, I realized I completely skipped the 4th page of items. I need diamonds, hardwood, and iron bars to make some of these items. My crystallarium shed has plenty of diamonds, so we're good on that front. I head to the secret woods to collect some hardwood, then it's off to the mines where I spend the rest of the day collecting iron ore and coal. On day 146, it's time to name our second ostrich. The default name was Jella. I actually wanted to stick with this name, but I felt like it was missing something, some je ne sais quoi. I spent some time brainstorming names before finally calling it Will in honor of King William. I collect some more hardwood in the secret woods, collect some ancient seeds from my greenhouse and plant them. Our crop area is looking scrum-diddly-umptious right now. I craft 20 out of the 22 items I had left to make as I didn't have enough solar essence and gold bars with me. I have just enough solar essence in a chest, but not enough gold ore. Luckily, my smelting shed still had a good bit of gold ore in it, so I add some coal to it and let it work away. I'm running slightly low on wood at this point, and I refuse to buy wood from Robin after she raised her prices at the start of the second year, so I head into the forest and chop down some trees. After a little bit of dilly-dallying, I feel like I've overused that word at this point, I collect my gold bars and craft the final 2 items that are available. Now all we need is for Clint to give us a special order so we can get the final crafting recipe from him. We plant even more ancient seeds on day 147, then it's off to Ginger Island to harvest our second last batch of fairy roses. On day 148, I don't know how to explain this. Leo has seemingly gained the ability to walk through walls. I mean, look, it's very cool, but at the same time it's very inconvenient because I need to give him a present, so this better not happen again. The remaining fairy roses are ready on day 149, which means it's time to start decorating our farm. This will be a multiple day process during which I will most definitely lose my mind. Day 150 comes and goes as I continue decorating my farm. It took me so long to get to this point. It looked completely different last night, but I started fresh this morning because I didn't like how it looked. It still needs more work, but the luau takes place tomorrow, so we must leave it alone for now. On day 151, I take a gold quality starfruit wine from a cask and bring it to the luau. The vibes at this year's festival are even better than last year's, as Leo and Lioness are cooking a meal. This is very nice to see. The starfruit wine we added to the soup also earns us the best result. After the luau, I decide to fall asleep in my Ginger Island house so we can continue decorating the farm straight away tomorrow. It is with great honour that I let you all know that our farm is pretty much fully decorated on day 152. There is still a tiny bit of decorating left to do, but I need the trees I planted to grow before I finish it off. I spend the rest of the day decorating my house. Within the first 30 seconds, I can already tell that this is going to be one of the worst experiences of my life. It turns out I was completely right. For some reason, I struggled immensely when it came to decorating the house on day 153. I have no idea why, but I didn't like the look of anything I did with it. My little bedroom was fine, but the main area really rustled my jimmies. I have settled on a blend between a rustic and minimalist aesthetic though, so hopefully I can get to a point where I'm happy with how it looks. On day 154, I am suffering. I spent some time decorating my house when I realized that I almost forgot something very, very important. My weekly cinema excursion with Kenny. I quickly buy a ticket and give it to him before he starts thinking that I have forgotten about him. It turns out this was exactly what I needed. As I sat in the movie theater, I felt sparks of inspiration leave the movie screen and flow directly into my body. I now know the perfect way to decorate my house. This is what I ended up doing with it. I have to say, I am satisfied with how it looks. It might look a bit empty, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out after how much heartache I endured during the last 2 days. Kenny has a request for us on day 155. He wants to give Jodie a starfruit for their anniversary. Kenny, it would be my honour to help you. I wasn't planning on harvesting any of my starfruit. To be honest, I just wanted to grow them for aesthetic purposes, but this is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for my best friend. I give the starfruit to Kent, then accept a special order to harvest and ship 100 blueberries. I head to Piers and buy 50 blueberry seeds, harvest the rest of the starfruit and replace them with the blueberry seeds. I harvest quite a few ancient fruit in my greenhouse, which I throw into my seed maker to end the day. On day 156, I finally plant almost all of my ancient seeds on my Ginger Island farm. I spend the rest of the day doing some more decorating. For the most part, our island farm is fully decorated at this point. I'm just waiting for the trees on the beach to grow before I add the finishing touches. I have definitely said that before. Oops. Anyway, that is exactly what happens on day 157. With the trees fully grown, I add a little walkway to the end of the beach and add a bit of grass to the surrounding area. It is also time to give our third ostrich a name. We already have Pubert and Hubert living on the farm, so I decide to call this ostrich Rubert. On the morning of day 158, more starfruit wine is ready, so I throw it into the chest in my cellar. Next, it is time for my favourite part of the week, my cinema date with Kenny. I went to give Kenny his ticket, but he wasn't home. At this point, I have a terrible feeling that I know exactly where he is. Or rather, where he's going. I run into King William's shop just in time to see Kenny leave for Ginger Island. I am truly heartbroken. This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me during this entire playthrough. But then a cutscene about Leo's time in Pelican Town plays.
Never mind the darkness. Never mind the storm. Never mind the blood-red moon. The night will be over soon. wash away the tears. Sing away your heavy heart. The night will be over soon. The night will be over soon. For every night goes quiet, and every moon grows blue beyond the dark.
After watching this cutscene, I decide to bring Leo to the cinema with me. If anybody deserves to experience the magic of watching the Prairie King movie, it is Leo. Also, this resulted in me reaching maximum friendship with him, so that was a nice bonus. On day 159, I move a few buildings around and make some changes to the layout of the farm. The farm is almost the way I want it to be. There's just a few more small changes we need to make, but we'll get those done in fall. On day 160, I decide to spend my blue gems on mushroom tree seeds. The rest of the day is spent planting these seeds along with other tree seeds to make the farm look tasty. On day 161, I am feeling nostalgic. I began to have flashbacks to the many times I have said something like, I head to Piers and buy 25 of each summer seed. In honor of these flashbacks, I decide to go to Piers and buy 25 of as many seeds that I can fit in my inventory. Then it's off to Ginger Island to plant 15 of each seed. I could only plant a few different seeds today, but as the seeds grow and I harvest them, I will replace them with the seeds for a different crop. Day 162 is an ancient fruit harvest day. We start off in our greenhouse before harvesting the ancient seeds that have grown in our Junimo hut area. I throw the ancient fruit into our keg shed, then I head to the special orders board. We have finally gotten a special order from Clint. He wants us to defeat 50 dust sprites. I head home and grab the monster musk from my chest, then I head to the mines. The monster musk doubles the amount of monsters that appear in the mines, so we end up completing this quest in no time at all. On the morning of day 163, Clint sends us the crafting recipe for the geode crusher. That was the final crafting recipe we needed, so after heading into the cellar and making the geode crusher, we have now crafted every item in the game. A visit to Mr. Blue's walnut room reveals that we now have 90% completion. The only thing we have left is the cooking recipes. I'm missing around 8 or 9 of them, but all we have to do to unlock them is to watch the Queen of Sauce TV show every Sunday. I harvest my blueberries on day 164 and throw them into my shipping bin to complete the special order that Lewis gave us. I also very recently realized that even though we have the tractor, we can still get the stable with the horse, so I've been heading to the secret woods during the last few days to gather the hardwood I need. I head to Robin's and move my tractor to the right, then I ask Robin to build a stable on my farm. Next, it is time for the final summer cinema date with Kenny. I played the crane game and tried to grab the cinema ticket because I had never gotten it before and really wanted it, but I failed. Looking back on this, I really wish I went for the 2 trees behind the ticket. They would have looked delightful in my Ginger Island house. On day 165, I harvest the crops that have grown on Ginger Island and replace them with different seeds. On day 166, I have some explaining to do. The way I made this video was I would play through a week or 2 weeks in-game, then I would write down what I did on those days. For example, this is what I wrote down for day 165. That is exactly how I described yesterday. The problem is, this is what I wrote for day 166. I won't lie, I was quite annoyed with myself when I saw this, but then I scrolled further down and I saw this. Honestly, this is the perfect example of why writing the script for these videos is always my favorite part. Like, I'll forget what I wrote down, then I'll come back to it to record the voiceover and I'll see like the silliest things in the world, like this. So if you're wondering why the last video was an hour and a half long, it's because of things like you're seeing now. I'll be looking over the script and I'll be saying to myself, do I really need all of this? I could edit this a bit, like I don't think this section here is necessary. And 99% of the time I'll be like, you know what? I'll keep it in the video. I'm gonna move on to the next day, otherwise I'll spend like half an hour talking about this. Day 167 is a very important day as I decided that Skedaddle would be the perfect name for my horse. Myself and Skedaddle go on a trip to Robin's house where I ask her to move my stable down just a little bit so that it is perfectly parallel with my house. We also receive a phone call from Pierre who reminds us to visit his shop so that we can buy more seeds. Bro, I've spent like 2 million gold in your shop at this point. What do you want from me? Day 168 is the final day of summer. While our Junimos are working away, I decide to cook all of the recipes that we have unlocked so far. It takes a lot of clicking, but I finally managed to make all of them. Also, the dance of the Moonlight Jellies took place today. But, I won't lie, I was looking at my phone and I forgot to pause the game and I ended up passing out, so I missed the festival. It's not my fault though. You see, I was absolutely mesmerized by the cat memes. Actually, I don't like ending the final day of the season like this, so I made a cat meme to make up for it. I hope you enjoy. As we start day 169, I want to quickly mention that at this point, the days will become shorter because we are very close to perfection. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Anyway, on the first day of fall, after harvesting our ancient fruit, it is time to welcome Lubert the ostrich to the family. This was supposed to be a reference to one of my favourite characters in iCarly, Lubert, but it turns out I spelled his name wrong, so ignore that please. On day 170, I sell some ancient fruit to Pierre, then I head to Robin's to buy some wood, but she isn't there, because it's Tuesday. I can't believe I made that mistake this far into this playthrough. I decide to start chopping down trees to get a bit of wood before we go back to her tomorrow. I need wood because I want to make a ton of kegs to put into another shed so we can start making even more ancient fruit wine. I spend the rest of the day taking away all of the furnaces in my smelting shed to prepare for tomorrow. Day 171 begins with a scrumptious ancient fruit harvest. Then it's off to Robin's to buy around 3 stacks of wood, which I use to make another 105 kegs. I take the kegs out of the sort of extra shed we have and place all of my kegs in the shed formerly known as the smelting shed. I fill the kegs up with ancient fruit, then I head to Ginger Island to harvest the crops that have grown and replace them with different seeds. On day 172, I spend the whole day turning one of my sheds into a little restaurant. I finish off decorating my little restaurant on day 173. We're missing 7 meals from our display, but we'll get them as we learn the remaining cooking recipes. I then remove my preserves jars from their shed and get started on turning this shed into a museum of sorts. All of the minerals and artifacts in the game will be put in this shed. On day 174, I finish off decorating the museum shed and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Next it is time to welcome another ostrich to the family. I decide to call this ostrich Pubert Jr. To finish off the day, I collect some ancient fruit from a Junimo hut and throw them into the keg shed. We learn how to make a fruit salad on the morning of day 175. I spend some time watching my Junimos working away, then I realize that there is somebody that I have sort of taken for granted. This person deserves more than what I have given them, and I make a vow to treat them better. I am, of course, referring to Leah. I do something that is long overdue at this point. I invite her to the cinema. As Vin Diesel once said, we are family. At least I think he said that, I'm not entirely sure. You know, my favourite part of the Fast and Furious movies is when Vin Diesel says it's family time and then families all over the world join him on his adventure to space. After my cinema escapades with Leah, I decide to make a fruit salad just in case we forget about it in the future. I then put this fruit salad in my little restaurant. I also harvest some more crops on Ginger Island and once again replace them with different seeds. Day 176 is a big ancient fruit harvest day. One of our little ancient fruit areas has grown and around half of the Junimot area is covered with ancient fruit. Next on the agenda is to change the aesthetic of my extra shed. I spend pretty much the entire day taking away all of the machines in there and making a plan for how I want it to look. On day 177, I put this plan into action. I spend pretty much the entire day working on this shed. We do need to make some more aisle makers and looms though, so it's not fully done yet. On day 178, I collect some ancient fruit wine from one of my keg sheds, then it's off to Ginger Island for another round of harvesting. This time it's a bit different though because it involves harvesting our ancient fruit that is grown on this farm. I believe this is the first time we've harvested ancient fruit on Ginger Island, so this is truly a special occasion. I also want to get the polyculture achievement, which requires us to ship 15 of each crop, so I take some crops out of my chest and throw them into my shipping bin. On day 179, I believe we are one coffee bean away from unlocking the aforementioned polyculture achievement. I take a bean out of my chest, throw it into my shipping bin, and start hoping that this is the last item we needed for that achievement because I have no idea what else it could possibly be. The Junimos have taken a well-deserved break, so I decide to harvest the ancient fruit myself. I am over the moon on day 180 as we have gotten a notification letting us know that we have unlocked the polyculture achievement. The last achievement we have to unlock is the one for cooking all of the recipes. I head into my revamped extra shed and collect the artisan goods I kept in there. I also collect the ancient fruit wine from my cellar and sell everything to Pierre, earning around 2.2 million gold. I am also fully aware that I've been saying Pierre in a really weird way this entire time. I apologize. I had planned on saving our ancient fruit wine for the casks, but they're all full of wine right now, so there's no point saving any more wine we collect from our kegs. I head to the cinema and buy 2 tickets. Leah wasn't at the farm, which could only mean one thing. She's on Ginger Island. This is going to be a true test of Leah's commitment, her loyalty, her willingness to go from Ginger Island to Pelican Town, then back to Ginger Island after the movie, then finally back to Pelican Town to get some sleep. I give her the cinema ticket and she agrees to go to the cinema. It is at this point that I know for certain I made the right choice when I chose to marry Leah. She is a better person than I could ever be, so for the rest of this playthrough I will exclusively be inviting Leah to the cinema. And that is for true, the whole true, and nothing but the true. I do feel slightly remorseful about no longer going on cinema dates with Kenny, but I believe both of us have learned a lot from our time together. I also think that we are at the point where a cinema date once a week is no longer required to maintain this very special friendship we have together. On the morning of day 181, I spent some time frolicking around my Junimo hut area. I know for a fact I did this because I wanted to explain something at this point. But I completely forget what it is that I wanted to explain, so I apologize to the past version of myself. I'm feeling very discombobulated right now. I head to Ginger Island and harvest some more crops before planting some more seeds. I am sure you will all be delighted to know that after the next harvest, there is but one crop left to plant. Day 182 is a very relaxed day. I harvest some ancient fruit, collect some ancient fruit wine from a keg shed and throw the wine into the chest in my cellar to keep it safe. I watch the Queen of Sauce show and learn how to make blackberry cobbler. I've actually eaten blackberry cobbler before and it is very nice. In fact, if you've got a problem with blackberry cobbler, then you've got a problem with me and I suggest you let that one marinate. After making the blackberry cobbler, I put it on display in my restaurant. Slowly but surely, we are inching closer and closer to not just a full restaurant, but also to perfection. Days 183 through 196 are mainly spent harvesting ancient fruit, putting ancient fruit into kegs, going to the cinema with Leah, and harvesting the remaining crops on Ginger Island. There are also 2 very important events that occurred during this period of time. The first is I bought copious amounts of wood from Robin along with copper ore, iron ore and coal from Clint. I made as many tappers as I could and put them on all of the oak trees in the forest. I did this because I wanted to get a ton of oak resin so I could make at least 150 more kegs so we could start making even more ancient fruit wine. The second event that occurred is I realized that starfruit wine sells for a lot more gold than the ancient fruit wine. This discovery broke me completely. I wasn't just panicking. I was completely and utterly discombobulated to a worrying degree. I began to brainstorm and decided that I would focus more on making as many tea saplings as I possibly could for the rest of the playthrough. Now, I must admit that I feel bad about condensing 14 days into one little segment, so to make up for that, I have written a poem. This poem not only covers these 14 days, but also recaps the entirety of the 196 days we have played through so far. I hope you all enjoy. 'Twas the beginning of spring when Mr. Aries... is that what I'm calling myself now? Mr. Aries? I don't like that, but okay, it'll do for now. Okay, let's just start again. 'Twas the beginning of spring when Mr. Aries arrived in Pelican Town. With nothing but a chair, he entered the mines on day 1. 4 days he spent in there, gallivanting around, before claiming the Skull Key, feeling mighty and proud. As spring continued, our hero went to the Skull Cavern. The tractor made this quite easy, as you can imagine. Night after night he collected iridium ore in a speedy fashion. He became feared by all in these caves, like Jason in Manhattan. Yet despite his newfound fortune, his heart had found a different treasure. Leah was her name, and he was enchanted when he met her. Fishing, farming and foraging, nothing was as important as this new endeavour. For anything and everything is what he would give to be with her. With the brightest sparkle Leah's eyes had shined. He would do anything for their lives to be intertwined. It was during the season of fall that the stars finally aligned, and the two got married on day 69. We shall ignore my singing as it could have been better. Instead, let us focus on our hero's next adventure. But what could that be in this town he had entered? Why, of course, it was to fix the community centre. With the centre fixed and the Junimo sent home, our hero sailed to Ginger Island, feeling slightly alone. He met a boy named Leo and continued to roam, collecting every golden walnut as efficiently as Sherlock Holmes. He met Mr. QI, what a silly name, let's call him Mr. Blue, and returned to Pelican Town, where he was met with quite the view. As upon his return he was introduced to somebody new. Kent was his name, though that's Kenny to me and you. On the bright side, his friendship with Kenny began to flourish, but in a cruel twist of fate, his bank account was looking tarnished. He believed this could be fixed with the ancient fruit he would harvest. This was a mistake, not just a big one, but quite possibly the largest. His head began to hurt as we neared the end of this challenge, as everything at once had become difficult to balance. And so he decided that wild seeds, wood and fibre would be what we scavenge, in the hope that this mistake would not lead to too much damage. As I end this poem, I hope I do not sound cliché in saying that I hope you all have a truly exquisite day. But alas, I must retire my poetry cap, for now anyway, as I have a cinema date with Leah, the woman who accepted my bouquet. On the morning of day 197, I harvest all of the fibre that has grown and plant as many winter seeds as I can. I had around 200 or so winter roots from last year, so I threw them into a seed maker to get all of these winter seeds. I collect some ancient fruit from a Junimo hut and throw them into the kegs. We're going to keep making ancient fruit wine while also focusing on making tea saplings. We have also planted fibre and winter seeds on our Ginger Island farm. The rest of the day is spent chopping down trees and digging up winter forage. On day 198, we begin the process of selling pretty much everything we own. This includes all of the artisan goods and diamonds in the extra shed, as well as 95-ish% of the items in our storage shed. I take a quick break to harvest the fibre in our greenhouse and plant some more fibre seeds, and I harvest the winter forage on Ginger Island. Then it's right back to selling everything for the rest of the day. We end up earning around 1.4 million gold for everything we sold today. I'm feeling a bit emotional on day 199 as I stand in my storage shed. I've also set up a small storage area by our crops. These chests contain forage items, wild seeds, starfruit and strawberry seeds, fibre and fibre seeds, and the items we need to make kegs. I want to get a better idea of how close we are to completing our goal of earning 50 million gold in total, so I collect my ancient fruit wine and around 600 ancient fruit. I then take all of my preserve jars and fill them up with ancient fruit in the tunnel. Then it's time to place all of our kegs on the main road before placing the remaining kegs and preserve jars in the quarry. Back on my farm, I make as many wild seeds as I can and make 283 tea saplings. At this point, I've realized that the tea sapling method isn't going to work. We just don't have enough fibre to make tea saplings. But it's not really a big deal because I have a backup option. Well, technically, the tea saplings was my backup option. So I guess I have a backup option for the backup option. You'll see what it is pretty soon. Anyway, we made almost 1.4 million gold from the tea saplings, ancient fruit and remaining artisan goods that we sold. On day 200, I harvest the fibre that has grown on Ginger Island, then I head back to Farm 1 and invite Leah to the cinema. Before I go any further, I just want to give you all a heads up. For the remainder of this video, I will be talking about what I did during each week rather than each day. So, anyway, at the end of day 200, Leah asked if we should have another baby. I, of course, said yes. The rest of the week is spent harvesting fibre and winter forage, learning how to make a poppy seed muffin, cooking the poppy seed muffin and putting it in my restaurant. I also plant starfruit seeds on Ginger Island instead of winter seeds. The second week of winter begins with the Ice Festival. Once again, we do not win the fishing competition. That is King William's competition, not ours. Look, we're just there to make King William look good and to talk to the other villagers there. That's all. I harvest some fibre on Ginger Island and replace it with starfruit seeds, add more kegs to the quarry area and receive an interesting present from Kenny in the mail. I thought we were friends, Kenny. What are you trying to do here? The first batch of starfruit is ready at the start of the third week of winter. I should have mentioned this, but we're going back to focusing on making starfruit wine. No more ancient fruit, no more tea saplings. Just starfruit wine and starfruit jelly. Leah gave birth to a baby boy near the end of this week. I decided to call him Sammy. Finally, we learn how to make bruschetta. Actually, I know this one. Bruschetta, which we make and throw into our restaurant. The final week of winter begins with a trip to the cinema. I collect the Zuzu City Express movie poster and watch the movie with Leah. For the remainder of the week, I harvest starfruit, plant more starfruit seeds, throw my starfruit into kegs, and attend the Feast of the Winter Star. I give a cactus fruit to Pamela and then Clint gives me an iridium bar. This man had the audacity to say it's nothing fancy, but it's the best I could afford. An iridium bar sells for like 5,000 gold. This is a really good present, Clint. I will treasure this iridium bar forever. The following day, I give the iridium bar to Clint for his birthday. I buy 2 statues of Endless Fortune in the casino, then learn how to make shrimp cocktail. We unlock the gourmet chef achievement when we make it, which means we have cooked every recipe. I place the shrimp cocktail in my restaurant, finally completing it. A trip to Mr. Blue's walnut room reveals we have achieved perfection. Now, for all intents and purposes, we have completed easy mode. Our playthrough is finished. But before I end this video, there is one thing that I want to do, nay, that I need to do. I must achieve the goal that has been a thorn in my side since day 1. Regardless of how long it takes, I will earn a total of 50 million gold. The plan is simple. Plant as many strawberry seeds as we can in spring and make strawberry wine and jelly. Then plant starfruit seeds in summer to make starfruit wine and jelly. Our first big sale is on the 16th of spring. I throw all of my wine and jelly into my shipping bin along with the iridium ancient fruit wine and various goods I had in my extra shed. This earns us around 8.5 million gold. Our second big sale is on the 28th of summer. After selling all of our artisan goods, mainly wine and jelly, we earn around 9 million gold. At this point we have earned a total of 45 million gold. Our third and final big sale is on the 15th of fall. I've already collected all of the wine, juice and jelly that was ready, so I head into the extra shed and collect the items that we've received from our statues, such as iridium bars, prismatic shards and cooked dishes. I then throw everything into my shipping bin. I thought I lost my statue of perfection and true perfection, but then I remembered I put them in Mr. Blue's walnut room yesterday to take a picture for the thumbnail for this video. Now I think it's time for a quick farm tour. First we have the extra shed with our various machines along with our statues. I also put all of the craftable items in the game into this shed. Next we've got our storage shed, which is now basically empty. I am really going to miss this shed. Of course we've got both of our keg sheds. These were the backbone of our farm. They're pretty much the reason why we earned as much gold as we did. We've got our little museum with all of the artifacts and minerals. Just in case you're wondering, the chest in here contains the wallpaper and flooring I used for the shed. There's a glitch where the flooring and wallpaper in one shed can be replaced with the flooring and wallpaper of another shed for no reason, so I put these here just in case. Finally, we have our little restaurant. In all honesty, it's not much of a restaurant. It's more like a museum for food. but all of the food looks scrumptious, so I think it was worth the time we put into it. We've also got the main road filled with kegs and the tunnel full of preserve jars, as well as the quarry which I pretty much filled with kegs. Finally, we've got our Ginger Island farm. It's not as decorated as the main farm, but I feel at peace when I walk through this farm at night. There's this sense of beautiful solitude here that I really enjoy. I don't know what I'm talking about. Here are pictures of the farmhouse during the day and at nighttime. This is actually the same way I decorate my farmhouse in every playthrough. Next we've got our Ginger Island farmhouse. Again, there should be pictures of it during the day as well as at nighttime. I think this is the first time I fully decorated the Ginger Island farmhouse, so I struggled a lot, as you all saw during fall, I believe it was. And finally we have the main farm. It went through quite a few changes during this playthrough. In fact, I remember during spring and summer of year 1, it was basically a massive giant patch of crops. There was no decorations at all. But yeah, that's about it for the farm tour. We earned over 5 million gold from the items we sold on that last day, which puts us at a total of 50.7 million gold. Which means we have finally completed our goal of earning 50 million gold. The final cutscene in the game should be playing on your screen right now. There's Leah there beside us, isn't she just fantastic? I'm slightly disappointed that Shenanigans and Skedaddle aren't there with us, but this is good enough. At this point I think there is just one thing left for me to do. But before I do it, I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.